Welcome back to another episode of From the Desk. I'm your accountant, Samira Moyedin. Halloween. It may be over, but the horror continues. This time with a story that has been lingering now for more than a year, and a warning to viewers. We will be discussing some distressing details of Israeli army personnel sexually violating Palestinian detainees in Israel's notorious torture center of Sidi Timan. That is coming up in the second half of the show, but first, the global is local. Another form of horror unfolded in Toronto over the weekend. Meet Gabriella Bodis, 67-year-old Toronto resident, a big fan of the cock, which I am not. You can see Gabriella here wearing the emblem of the terror group on her chest. Kahan Kai Kok refers to the political movement spearheaded by Rabbi Meir Kahan. He was also the founder of the Jewish Defense League, or JDL. Here's their logo. Founded by Meir Kahan in New York City in 1968, the JDL's self-described purpose was to, quote, protect Jews from local manifestations of anti-Semitism, end quote. But killing people and bombing buildings was what the JDL mainly did. They famously assassinated Alex O'Day in 1985. He was the regional director of the American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee. They even blew up a cinema because they didn't like that it was playing the documentary film that Vanessa Redgrave made, entitled The Palestinian. Their crimes are too many to name, but I do urge you to Google them. So that's the context, that's the logo Grandma was wearing. On Sunday, November 2nd, just over the weekend in Toronto, Gabriella Bodis was arrested by Toronto police for threatening pro-Palestinian protesters with ammonium hydroxide. That's right, Bodis brought acid to the party, and not the good kind. She brought the disfiguring kind, the kind that can put a hole in your skin, the kind that is a major irritant. Watch this.
Look out behind you.
Hippo! What you are doing here?
Hey, what's this?
What this?
What's this?
Hey? What
What are you
this?
doing with this?
No, you have to arrest her.
She's dangerous.
No.
She's dangerous. You should,
You,
yes.
you, other side of the line. You,
Look what she hold.
you're coming with me.
Look,
Go.
already she's up on that ground.
Yeah.
You should arrest her.
Oh my God.
She's
Here's some of the press release put out by the Toronto Police Services. The accused produced a bottle containing a suspected hazardous chemical. The accused was seen shaking the bottle, removing the cap, and motioning with the intention of spraying the liquid substance toward the victim. Officers quickly intervened and arrested the accused. The victim was not injured. Known as UN-2672, ammonium hydroxide is classified as a Category 1 toxic substance. Toronto Fire Department was on scene to test it after police had arrested her. Watch this.
See, it's soap for you too.
Look, 100%. Oh yeah, 100%. Very amazing. That'll fucking. I mean, it went blue before you even got in there. The vapor.
You can hear the officer there say that the test stick turned blue even before they had stuck it into the bottle to test. That's purely from the vapors that it was exuding. An odious character Bodis is. Here is one of her Facebook posts. There are no civilians in Gaza. Gabby also took to Facebook to let her fellow cock enthusiasts know that she had been released from jail. Gabriela Bodas is scheduled to appear in court on December 17th, 2025. On the Line Media will be there to bring you all of the details and updates. Now, I want to come back to Bodas because when this video was first shared with me, I instantly recognized Grandma JDL. You see, I had filmed her previously on the University of Toronto campus on September 6, 2024. Have a look.
They're Jewish terrorists. Perhaps it's a mom and son team here.
We would like there to be peaceful relations with the Islamic community.
They have now all arrived on campus. That is a terrorist flag there.
Is to murder
The
all
flag
Jews.
of the JDL. For some reason, the security guard keeps covering the flag that I'm trying to film. Not sure why he's doing that. This was
Gabriela that time was holding the flag of the Kahan Kai Kok and not a bottle of ammonium hydroxide. Zionists in Toronto are really upping the ante, freeze. As Israel grows more desperate, so are its supporters. So, were there any condemnations by the Ontario Premier Doug Ford? How about Prime Minister Carney? After all, this was a potential terror chemical attack in Canada's largest city. Anything? Nope. This incident, much like the nail gun incident last year, will go without condemnation or official statements. For those who may not remember the nail gun attack, here's a little reminder.
Every fucking Palestinian will die! Every fucking Palestinian!
Every Palestinian will die. Not enough to warrant a comment or condemnation by Canadian officials, and that's because these perpetrators are supporters of Israel. This is the Israel exception on full display, because in the case of Gabriela Bodas and the insignia she wears of a terror group, there was no charge for supporting a public safety listed group, which is exactly what the Toronto police did last year in an unprecedented move. Not once, but twice.
Toronto police also announced the arrest of a 41-year-old man charged with public incitement of hatred at a downtown march.
Our members observed him carrying a flag of a terrorist organization listed by Public Safety Canada.
The Kahan Kai movement is banned in Israel, and although Meir Kahan is dead, assassinated actually, live by the 22, die by the 22, that hasn't stopped Israel's messianic marauding ministers from paying homage to the Zionist rabbi terrorist and his offspring group, the Jewish Defense League. Haaretz even covered Kahan's comeback in Toronto last year, in which I contributed to. They even used my photo of the cocksuckers on the campus of the University of Toronto in their story. Since 2005, Public Safety Canada has designated the Kahan Kai a terror group and a threat to Canadians. Here is how Public Safety Canada describes the group. Quote, Kahan Kai Kok is a marginal extremist Jewish entity whose goal is the restoration of the biblical state of Israel, replacing democracy with theocracy. Kahan Kai Kok advocates expelling Arabs from Israel, expanding Israel's boundaries to include the occupied territories and parts of Jordan, and the strict implementation of Jewish law, or halakha, in Israel. Kahan Kai Kok has openly espoused violence against Arabs and the Israeli government as a viable method for establishing a religiously homogeneous state. Its activities have included threats to government officials and infrastructure, grenade attacks, armed violence, and bombings. End quote. This is how Public Safety Canada views the Kahan Kai group. So is Gabriela Bodas being charged with inciting public hatred? No. How about this Toronto Thornhill baseball team that wears the terror logo on their jerseys? Surely this cock runner can't be legal. This is a Public Safety Canada listed terror group. Why are their Zionist baseball teams wearing this logo? I'm putting a request in to the Toronto Police Service to ask them about this duplicity. I will update you once I receive a response. Moving on to more horrors, this time in the land of milk and genocide, Israel. And again, a warning, this section will discuss the sexual brutalization of Palestinian detainees by Israeli soldiers. A scandal is underway in Israel. The scandal isn't that Israeli soldiers raped a Palestinian detainee by sticking a telephone and then a rod into his rectum, as they called the number and laughed. No, that's not the scandal. The scandal is that the video of them doing it was leaked. On July 5th, 2024, Israel's channel N12 News broadcast this CCTV tape from inside Israel's notorious Sidi Timan torture center. Watch this.
של חיילי המילואים מכוח 100, יחידה המשמשת להבטחת המתקן. הם לוקחים את המחבל, הנה הם כאן בפינת המתקן, כנראה מודעים למצלמות האבטחה ומנסים להסתיר מעשיהם במגינים. הצילום כולל תיעוד של העבירה מיוחסת לאנשי המילואים, מעשה סדום בנסיבות אינוס. שעות אחר כך פונה המחבל לבית החולים מדמם. הפציעות שלו הוגדרו מורכבות. הקביעה הרפואית חד משמעית. הפציעות נגרמו מהחדרה של חפץ.
Shielding themselves from the camera, they tore his rectum, ruptured his bowels, and broke his ribs and punctured his lungs. The Israeli doctor who received the Palestinian detainee's body at the hospital could not believe what he was faced with. You'll recall that some Israelis even rallied around their raping soldiers and busted through a military barracks to try and free them. There were even conversations being had among lawmakers at the time about whether it was acceptable or not to shove objects into a Palestinian detainee's rectum. Watch this.
ואני יוצא מפה, ואני לא הולך להצביע יותר על שום דבר, עד שהסיפור הזה והטרלול הזה, שיש מי שבפרקליטות חושב שאפשר לבוא ולעצור חיילים על דברים שעושים למחבלי נוח'בה, לא נגמר. אוקיי? ואני מאוד מבקש, ואני חושב שחבריי בקואליציה טוב יעשו, אם יעשו כמוני. אנחנו לא יכולים להמשיך כרגיל.
להכניס מקל לרקטום של בן אדם, זה לגיטימי?
כן, אם הוא נוח'בה, הכל לגיטימי לעשות לו.
אוקיי.
הכל.
מצוין.
הכל.
זה מה שרציתי.
הכל, האנשים האלה, אתה יודע מה עשו?
אוקיי.
טוב.
יש דברים שלא עושים.
Now, at the time, no one knew who leaked this tape, but last week, and upon resigning, the Israeli army's top legal advisor admitted to leaking the tape to Israel's Channel 12 News. Part of her resignation letter stated, "To my regret, this basic understanding that there are acts to which even the most vile of detainees must not be subjected is no longer convincing at all," she wrote. And while the former legal chief was arrested yesterday for attempting to do an iota of her job, those same indicted reservist rapists gave a press conference. Have a look.
עשרות לוחמים שצריכים את הגב של הממשלה, את הגב של המערכת, כי הם הגנו על הבית, ורק בזכותם כולנו כאן היום. אבל במקום חיבור קיבלנו האשמות. במקום תודה קיבלנו שתיקה. לא נתתם לנו להגיב, לא נתתם לנו להסביר. עשיתם עלינו משפט שדה מול המצלמות, כאילו כבר החלטתם מי אשם. אבל תדעו, אנחנו לא נשתוק. נמשיך להילחם על הצדק בשביל עצמנו, בשביל החברים שלנו, בשביל המשפחות שלנו, בשביל כל מי שיצא עם מדים והגן על הבית. לא ביקשנו רחמים, לא ביקשנו מחילה. רק דבר אחד, צדק. אתם אולי ניסיתם לשבור אותנו, אבל שכחתם דבר אחד. אנחנו כוח 100. אנחנו עומדים כאן מול כולם ומזכירים שמאחורי כל הניצחון עומדים לוחמים אמיתיים.
So this is where Israel is at. Its supporters are trying to douse people with acid over here, and its raping army is giving victorious press conferences over there. Now, we couldn't end today's program without acknowledging Ding Dong, the dick is dead. Which old dick? The wicked dick. Dick Cheney, the Iraqi killing machine who somehow was able to tie Saddam Hussein to 9/11. Dick is dead at the age of 84. He will be remembered for fattening his pockets with Iraqi oil money and shooting his own friend in the face while quail hunting. Dick was a big prick, and if there is a hell, we hope he is burning in it. As always, we ask that you support the work we do. We cannot do this work without you. We are totally viewer and reader funded, and we want to remain that way. Please head on over to patreon.com/onthelinemedia. There you will get behind-the-scenes access and see how this program comes together, and to our newsletter, which will let you know about events in this city and beyond. We promise to keep you in the know and bring you the voices that you most need to hear from now, unfettered and unfiltered. That's patreon.com/onthelinemedia. Some housekeeping before I go. First, a call to action. A parliamentary petition about media ownership in Canada, petition E-6821, brought forth by MP for Sudbury, Vivienne Lapointe. It reads, Post Media, one of Canada's largest media companies, is controlled by Chatham Asset Management, an American hedge fund placing a key part of Canada's news media under foreign influence. Foreign ownership introduces perspectives shaped by American political and cultural priorities, which often do not reflect Canadian values or concerns. The petition goes on. Foreign control risks skewing news coverage, undermining media integrity, and eroding public trust. And other countries, such as Australia and France, have established policies to safeguard domestic control of media, providing workable models for Canada. We, the undersigned, residents of Canada, call upon the House of Commons in Parliament assembled to pass legislation requiring majority Canadian ownership and control of print, digital, and other non-audiovisual news media to protect Canadian sovereignty, ensure journalism integrity, and guarantee that our media reflects Canadian priorities and values. This is important, folks. I will put the link in the description of this episode. Please click on this link and sign your name to this petition. We want to end foreign ownership of Canadian media. No more national posts owned by American hedge fund companies. These media outlets should not be receiving any funding from the Government of Canada. Let's help put an end to that. Also, before I go, I wanted to tell you about a special we are working on about Danny Danon, Israel's current ambassador to the United Nations. What makes him tick? What motivates him? From tackling children's paintings at the UN?
Today, I have exposed that at the main entrance of the UN placed an exhibit of a drawing full of hatred against Israel. I demanded that the UN will remove this exhibit, and today they did it. We will continue to fight hate and anti-Semitism in the halls of the UN.
To fighting against the spells of UN Special Rapporteur Francesca Albanese.
Miss Albanese, you are a witch, and this report is another page in your spell book. You have tried to curse Israel with lies and hatred, but your poison has failed. Every page of this report is an empty spell. Every accusation, a charm that does not work. because you are a failed witch.
To thumping his holy book in the General Assembly.
This is a deed to our land.
Don't miss our special, Counting Danan. That's coming up on the next From the Desk. Till then, stay tuned.